wants to talk about the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, which of course is not announced, is not a real product just yet, but that's not stopping rumors to be swirling. We have this report from a website I must admit I was not familiar with, Studimo, STUDIMO.LT, and what they found was a series of patents filed by Samsung. And of course, these patents don't specifically say this is for Z Fold 6. As you'll see as we go through these patents, they do appear to be related to a foldable style device. Not all of them, though. So let's go through these images. So the first set of images that we have here in this patent, and again, I'll drop links to all this in the description down below so you can go check it out yourself. We have what appears to be a traditional slab style phone, but as you can see, there's sort of a cutout here in the side of the device to make room for an S Pen. And as you can see, that's a pretty interesting and novel way to solve this. Rather than having the pin go up inside the device like we currently have, maybe it's like magnetically attaching or something like that, which I think there's some obvious problems with this design. One, you're holding it and there's a pin there. It would have to be really, really firmly attached for this not to be immediately problematic, but they do show the ability to press a button on the pin while it is attached, while it's, not in your hand, it's attached to the phone to do different actions. It kind of does remind me of the Galaxy Z Flip 5's cover display, that like manila folder shape, kind of similar to that. Very interesting, not necessarily the most interesting thing from this news article though, because the other image that we're going to look at is this one. This shows sort of a divot, a recess in the back of what is quite clearly a Z Fold style device, and that pin would snap into that. Now this does look very, very similar to a Z Fold 5 case that they have already created. It's almost identical to that, and by doing this, you're going to save a little bit of that internal space of the Z Fold that's already kind of at a premium. These devices have to be very thin because they fold over and then they double up in width. So you don't necessarily want to take up all of that space from the pin inside that device. So making it be sort of a recess, maybe it takes up half the space or something like that. That might be a good way to solve this. And as you're holding your foldable device, I'll use my OnePlus Open as a stand-in. Let's imagine that pin is sort of right in this area. Well, it's right there to just grab, pull off, and off you go. That might actually be easier than having to push a button and pull it out of the bottom of the device. So definitely an interesting concept and something to think about there. Now they do also show that sort of side cutout design as well. Again, I think you're going to run into the same problems. You need a really strong magnet. Maybe there's some advantages there. Personally, I think that the other design is just going to make more sense. They also show designs for different S Pens with different button layouts at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, and then one very large button that maybe could do different things. I think that would be pretty interesting to see different functionality brought to the pen via different button layouts. Again, all of this stuff is patent, right? So it's stuff that may never actually see the light of day, and it's really important to keep this stuff in mind. It's also really important to remember that all the way back in July, we saw these prototypes that Samsung showed off for what is quite clearly a Z Fold style device. And these prototypes, as you can clearly see, are much wider than we have with the current Z Fold, and many of them had an S Pen silo. Again, these were dummy units. They did not function, but it was like, hey, look at what we're kind of thinking about. So Samsung's been thinking about this S Pen problem for a while. They're also thinking about the form factor of this device. As you can see in this last image, several different aspect ratios that they had made these dummies of that people were allowed to pick up and hold and look at. So it's really, really early to be talking about this stuff though, right? So Z Fold 6 is still a ways off, but we already have gotten some reports. There is a now deleted tweet from Ice Universe stating that the camera setup was apparently not going to be changing. Is it possible, if that part's true, that the reason the camera's not changing much is because Samsung is about to rethink the design of their device and go with something that is maybe wider than it currently is, and maybe even add an S Pen in via an S Pen slot. Maybe they're going to stick that S Pen to the back of the device. Many different options there. Of course, like I said, we are still extremely far out, and if you see anyone saying this is what they're going to do. Don't believe them because there's no way that they know this just yet. The reporting just has not crystallized yet. And of course, this working off patents is extremely, possible and also not possible. We don't know what's going to happen with this stuff, but it's definitely fun to look at and to think about which of these designs would you prefer to see implemented? A traditional silo, stuck to the back, stuck to the side? Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're fine to use a case that carries your S Pen. Let me know in the comments down below. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.